What's up everyone, me JP2 here, and in today's video we have my actual favorite Pokemon, and that is SWABLU. I just love SWABLU, just because I love Altaria and SWABLU, because they're amazing. But the thing about SWABLU that I like is that it completely walls Trevenant. It's just a one-sided matchup. So I decided I was going to go Trevenant hunting with it before Astonish got buffed. Now they are going to be buffing Astonish in the coming season in like 2 days, but I figured I didn't feel like waiting, so I did get a few battles in with it, and it was a lot of fun. Now SWABLU has just been getting buff after buff since Aerial Ace got a nice buff and Astonish got buffed last season as well, but now they're buffing Astonish again. So SWABLU's gotten 3 buffs in the past 2 seasons. So I wanted to see if it's actually any good now. I highly doubted it, but the thing actually performed pretty darn well for a 925 combat power Pokemon. So I was pretty happy with it. Anyways, let's hop into the battles. So hopping into the first battle, we lead Registeel into Steelix. Now Steelix is very bad for my backline, so I just have to hope that Registeel can take out Steelix. Now they go for a Breaking Swipe right away. That did not surprise me in the slightest, and I decided to go for a Zap Cannon. I was figuring they'd shield this because it would still do a lot of damage, but they no-shield it, and then to rub salt in the wound, we don't even get an attack debuff. Now I will be able to go for a Focus Blast, and they don't shield it, so I think they must have assumed I was a single move Registeel, but I wasn't. And now they can go for a move, but Registeel actually tanks that, and we get a simultaneous KO. And the thing about this is I cannot send in SWABLU because it will still get wrecked by pretty much anything. But we bring in Altaria, and they bring in Mandibuzz. Now, this is a very neutral matchup, except for the fact that Altaria can hit for super effective with Moonblast. And I decided to just go for Moonblast straight away. It doesn't really matter too much because Altaria still tanks quite a few moves, and they shield it, so that's fine. They can go for an Aerial Ace, Altaria tanks it, and we should be able to make it to at least one more Moonblast before we even have to use a shield, which is perfect. So they go for an Aerial Ace, and we should make it to a Moonblast before they make it to another one. Now we do make it to the Moonblast. I wanted to make sure I got the KO, and they let it go. And in the back, they have Trevenant, and oh my god, our target has been acquired. Now this matchup is so one-sided that Trevenant still loses even up a shield. Look at this, we can go for an Aerial Ace, and they shield it, but they're gonna get outpaced to the next Aerial Ace. Now this won't take him out because SWABLU's not too attack rated, and I missed a bubble. But look at this, they can go for another Shadow Ball, and I don't even have to shield it. SWABLU lives it, and we make it to another Aerial Ace. And we get a 2-shield flex with a 925 combat power Pokemon against Trevenant, and that's just crazy. Hopping in the next battle, we lead Registeel into Golbat. This is an insanely good lead for Registeel, so I'd be expecting them to switch out, but oddly enough, they aren't. They're going straight for a Poison Fang as well, so there's no reason for me to shield this. Now, I can immediately go for a Zap Cannon, and if I get a debuff, then it's the same as just having no stat changes on the field, and we get a debuff. So now we will be able to tank a Shadow Ball, just like if neither of us were debuffed, so that doesn't do too much damage. They then switch into Passimian, which is a very spicy pick, and the thing about this is Passimian does not learn anything that hits Altaria for more than neutral, so we're fine. Now at this point, I realized that if they're going for superpowers, they're going to debuff themselves, and I can actually just get a farm down on them, which is perfect. So now they're going to bring in a Pokemon, and they bring in Lantern. Now Lantern's not too good for SWABLU, but we do have a Moonblast, so we should be able to hit them for a lot of damage. Now I make it to another Moonblast, which is absolutely perfect, because this will be forcing their shields because they have some energy, but they do get the farm down. Thankfully Registeel has some energy, so I can still let the Surf go through and tank it, but I decide to shield to just be safe. The opponent switches back into the Golbat, and I bring in SWABLU. Now SWABLU has one of the extremely odd movesets, where it's a flying type that just learns Ice Beam. Like Niantic was just like, okay, we'll give it to it, no one's going to use it anyways, little did they know. But, so I bring in SWABLU, and I actually decided to shield this, because now they're in Aerial Ace range, so SWABLU is able to take out a Golbat, which is absolutely hilarious. This thing's pretty bulky, and it was actually able to live the wing attacks. 2 Sparks take it out, but Registeel has a move, so Registeel will be able to take this game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Gourgeist. This is not the best lead, so I immediately switch into Altaria, and they're running Razor Leaf on their Gourgeist, which is interesting because that actually makes it a much better matchup for Registeel. Now, we switch into Altaria, and they bring in Togekiss, which is not ideal, but it's good because Togekiss just will charm through Swablu, so we needed to bait it out. Now I live in Aura Sphere, so I decide not to shield it, but they actually go for an Ancient Power, which is even better. Now, we're going to be able to go for another Zap Cannon, and Zap Cannon gets a shield, which just is astonishing to me, because, you know, this is such a terrible matchup for Togekiss. They go for another Ancient Power, but I don't have to shield that. I overfarm a little bit, and then I make it to a Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon will easily take out the Togekiss, and they bring back in the Gourgeist, and we bring in Swablu. Now, we're resisting Razor Leaf, and it's actually not doing too much damage, and in the back they have Jellicent. So all of a sudden, Swablu is looking primed to sweep this game, for some reason. Now, I decide to no-shield the first move because we live a Surf, but they go for a Bubble Beam, which is awful because Swablu already has no attack. So look at that Aerial Ace. It does, like, virtually nothing, and Astonish is also doing nothing. This was before Astonish got buffed to 9 damage, so the base power of Astonish is only 5 right now. Now, I farm up and I catch the Bubble Beam on Registeel, which is perfect because it resets Swablu's debuff, and then the opponent switches into Gourgeist. And then they throw a move. This is a huge misplay because I wasn't making it to a move, but it's actually perfect because it means Swablu is going to be able to get farmed. Now, I have to farm very carefully. I need to get a lot of energy so that Swablu has energy to throw into the Jellicent, but if I get too low, I get hexed down. This is the perfect amount of farm because I'm not getting hexed down, but I also have a shield to shield the Bubble Beam. Now, I go for the Aerial Ace before I get debuffed, and they have a move here. Now, I have to shield it, and now I'm going to be debuffed. So I'm going to make it to an Aerial Ace. I'm going to throw one extra Astonish. And does this KO? Because this is debuffed. And it does take out the Jellicent. And Swablu was able to take out 2 Pokemon. Anyways, hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Blastoise. Now, Blastoise should outpace us just by a bit. And they do. So they're going to go for a Hydro Cannon, but Registeel tanks that. Now, we're going to go for a Zap Cannon. And Blastoise definitely doesn't tank this. So they shield. We get the attack debuff, which is nice, but I do have to shield the next Hydro Cannon if I want to make it to another Zap Cannon. Now, they go for the Hydro Cannon, and I'm going to make it to another Zap Cannon. Now, they're probably going to shield this because they want Switch, and they do. And at this point, I'm hoping they just throw a move because I'm going to get farmed down either way. But I actually do calculate that I should be able to make it to another Zap Cannon, but the opponent switches into a Skeleturge, and I blind switch into Swablu because I saw Ghost. So this was a bit of a misplay by me, because there's no way Swablu wins this. But Swablu actually tanks the Flamethrower. I was very impressed by this. Swablu has a lot of bulk considering it's under 1,000 combat power. But the problem with this is that Skeleturge now is looking primed to do well against my team. The thing is, they're running double nukes. They're running Flamethrower and Shadow Ball, so no Disarming Voice. I overfarm as well as high as possible, and then I go for a Sky Attack. Now, the thing is, they're going to have a Togekiss in the back. And the Togekiss, I can switch into Registeel and snipe it. But the problem is that this Blastoise now gets farm off Reggie, and Altaria is going to need to make it to a Sky Attack. Now, they make it to a move. If it's an Ice Beam, we lose, but it's a Hydro Cannon. And Altaria just barely gets farmed down, and we just barely lose that game. So close. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Whiscash. Terrible lead, so we're going to switch into Altaria. Now, this is also good because it usually baits out Electric types. And we bait out a Charger Bug. Now, Charger Bug does pretty well into my whole team simply because it resists both Registeel's moves, destroys Swablu, and also does well into Altaria. Now, I decide to no-shield the first move. They go for a Crunch, and they get the debuff. The thing is that I'm definitely going to have to shield the next move, and they go for a Discharge, so I don't know why they went for the Crunch first. They were probably just expecting me to shield, and I didn't. But we can go for a Sky Attack and take out the Charger Bug, and just like that, we have Switch. Now, the opponent brings in Jumpluff, and they actually throw a move here. There's no point in me shielding this. It's just an Aerial Ace. And now I bring in Registeel. Now, Registeel is going to be able to do well into Jumpluff, and I was hesitant to bring in Swablu because I felt like it would have a better matchup in Whiscash. The opponent goes for an Energy Ball and then switches into Whiscash. Now, I caught a move here. I actually caught the Mud Bomb, which is nice because it does virtually nothing to Swablu. The problem is that they're running Water Gun, so they have a huge amount of fast move pressure as opposed if they're running Mud Shot. So, unfortunately, they're going to be able to just fully farm me down, most likely. So we make it to an Aerial Ace. The thing is, Aerial Ace is not going to do a lot. But then they throw. So it looks hopeful for this game. So we're going to go and we're going to shield the first Mud Bomb. I was thinking I might be able to make it to an Aerial Ace, but they had a lot more energy than I thought. And I go for a Focus Blast here. I'm knowing this is going to get the shield, but I'm just hoping I can get a farm down. But the opponent makes a huge misplay. I was at pretty low elo from this, but this is a massive misplay. They switch into Jump Bluff. They're probably trying to catch a Focus Blast or something, but I wasn't at it, and now I'm able to go for a Zap Cannon, and Jump Bluff's bulk works against it here, because it gives me a significant farm down. Now, they're not going to be able to do enough damage to take out Registeel, and Registeel is going to be able to lock on farm him down. This move will not take out Registeel, doesn't matter what it is, and Registeel gets the farm down, and we leave with the Focus Blast. The opponent either lost CMP or didn't have a move, but Registeel has the Focus Blast, and we take him out, and we take that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Charger Bug. Once again, Charger Bug is pretty bad for this team. Now, we're going to switch into Altaria, and Altaria is going to be able to do the best out of my 3 Pokemon into Charger Bug, and they go for an X-Scissor, which is quite a misplay, frankly. Now, we're going to go for a Sky Attack. This should get a shield, and it does. But now, if we can just shield this if we want to. But no, I let it go, and it's a Discharge. And then they switch into Gligar. Now, I make it to a Sky Attack, and I'm hoping they'll shield this, but I really don't think they will, and they don't. And I really want to land an Ice Beam. The thing is, they have a lot of energy, and 2 Aerial Aces plus the Wing Attack should take out SWABLU, but they actually go for a Night Slash. The problem is that, even though this Night Slash won't take us out, they're one fast move away, and they get a boost though, so that I think they were over farming, but now that they have the boost, they're likely to shield, and that's terrible, because I really wanted to land that Ice Beam. So, we bring in Registeel, and I'm just shielding everything, I'm not taking any risks. They switch into Charge Bug, and I'm letting this move go through. Gligar has the highest damaging charge move, left out of anything, and I'm going to go for the Focus Blast. I try to undercharge it, but I still take him out, and then they bring in the Gligar, obviously. Now, I'm shielding this because if it's a dig, I just lose, so I'm going to barely be able to make it to a Focus Blast before they make it to another move, and Focus Blast will be taking out the Gligar, and in the back they have a Azumarill, and all of a sudden this game looks hopeful again. Now, they're going to outpace us to a move here, but this is only an Ice Beam, and Registeel tanks that easily. Now, we'll be able to go for a Zap Cannon, and even if we don't get a debuff, we should be in a very good position. We get the debuff, though, and that means that Registeel can tank another Ice Beam, but we switch into SWABLU and catch it, just for the disrespect. We were winning anyways, but I wanted to have SWABLU have a bit more use in this game, so I'd make the catch. Focus Blast takes out the Azu, and we take that game. Hopping to the next battle, we lead Registeel into Swalot. Now, this is not the best because Swalot can hit us for super effective with Mud Shot, but they don't really have any charge move pressure, so Registeel should be fine. They go for an Acid Spray, which is bad because it ramps up the Mud Shot damage, but we should be able to debuff them in return with a Zap Cannon. And Zap Cannon is not going to take out the Swalot, but it does get a debuff, which is nice, and now they are in a second Zap Cannon range. They go for another Acid Spray, and Registeel tanks that, obviously. We make it to another Zap Cannon. Now, Zap Cannon's going to take them out, so they shield, and we get another attack debuff. Now, they go for another move here, and I'm still not shielding. They still have nothing that can take us out. They go for another Acid Spray, and then they switch into Whiscash. Now, I can bring in Altaria here because there's shields in play, but if all shields were down, we just get nuked by Blizzard, so we'd just be in a lot of trouble. We can go for a Sky Attack, and I was not counting their fast moves, so I do shield that. They might not have even had enough energy for the Blizzard, but they certainly don't now. So I can no-shield that. Mud Bomb doesn't do a lot of damage, and we were able to take him out. Now, they bring in Galvantula, and that's pretty bad. And I do realize that I'm only making it to one move, so might as well fish for a debuff. We go for the Moonblast, no debuff. It's like a 10% chance, so I can't be surprised. But they go for a Cross Poison, and that's bad. That's really bad because it gives them 2 extra Volt Switches that they wouldn't have if they went just for a Discharge. Now, I bring in Registeel, they go straight for the Lunge, and then they switch into Swallow. Now, I catch the move, and this is risky because Acid Spray now turns into a baiting game because we will get one shot by Ice Beam. I let it go again. I was not feeling like shielding, and I'm going to overfarm as much as I can before they make it to another move, and Aerial Ace will take him out. Now, the problem is that Volt Switches are going to do huge damage, but SWABLU, being the bulky little boy that it is able to tank 2 super effective quad debuffed Volt Switches and take that game for us. Anyways, hopping to the next battle, we lead Registeel into Jellicent. This is a very good matchup for Registeel, because if we land a Zap Cannon, it's just GG's. So the opponent tries to catch onto a Clodsire, and we're going to switch into Altaria. Now, Altaria should do well as long as they don't have Stone Edge, but they have Stone Edge. Of course they do. So this basically means that Altaria is no longer in a winning matchup. So we're going to go for the Sky Attack. Sky Attack's not going to take out the Clodsire, obviously. But if they're running Stone Edge, I do feel like they're probably not running Earthquake, so I can bring in SWABLU here, and I don't actually know why I brought in SWABLU. It's kind of a stupid idea by me, but Registeel doesn't do well into Clodsire either, so I was just hoping that SWABLU might be able to get the Clodsire low enough, and they actually shield the Aerial Ace. That's a really weird play in my opinion, but now they have another Stone Edge, and SWABLU actually does tank a Stone Edge, but it gets destroyed by it. Like, it'll get like down to like red HP, but the opponent switches into a Jellicent, tries to snipe with an Ice Beam, but we're able to just catch it onto Registeel, and now they shield the Zap Cannon. So all of a sudden, this matchup is just kind of turned around, so we're actually doing very well now. Now the Registeel is going to be able to tank another Ice Beam, so it looks like they're not running a move, like a big move besides Ice Beam, so we're able to tank that. The opponent then brings in the Clodsire, and if this is an Earthquake, Registeel could be in a lot of trouble. And it is an Earthquake, so all of a sudden, it's all up to SWABLU. The opponent switches into Golbat, and all of a sudden, this doesn't look too bad. We have a ton of energy, and we're going to be able to make it to another Ice Beam. Now, Ice Beam will not take out the Golbat, but the opponent has overfarmed a lot, and they go for a Shadow Ball, so I think they weren't very familiar with SWABLU's typing. They might have thought it was Flying Dragon as well. But they then bring in the Clodsire, and the Clodsire was 5 off, so we're able to outpace him by a singular turn, and Ice Beam takes out the Clodsire, and SWABLU is able to clutch that endgame for us. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Lantern. Now, it's good to see Lantern on the lead because Altaria doesn't really want to see it either because we have to farm all the way up to a Moonblast to do any meaningful damage, and SWABLU just gets destroyed by it. So Registeel's nice. Now, they do shield the Zap Cannon, and we don't even get a debuff, which is unfortunate, but we still live any one move here, so they can go for a Surf, but Registeel will be fine. I'm going to shield the second one because hopefully if I can go for another Zap Cannon, it'll get him into Dragon Breath farm down range, or we'll just be up a shield. So the opponent does shield it, so all of a sudden, it looks like Altaria is just going to be the way to get rid of this Lantern. So they go for a Surf, probably didn't want us to make it to another charge move, they want to be sure. Then the opponent switches into Medicham. Now, this is odd. I decided to just no-shield the Ice Punch. Altaria does live it, but I'm trying to farm it as much as possible, and now I go for a Sky Attack. Now, Sky Attack should be taking out the Medicham, and then the opponent then brings back in the Lantern. Now, Altaria barely makes it to a Moonblast here, and Moonblast will not take out the Lantern, but it'll get him pretty low. We even get the attack debuff, which is nice because it means that SWABLU is going to take like 1 or 2 less damage from the Water Guns. We bring in SWABLU, and in the back they have Skarmory. I was really excited when I saw a Flying type here, but then I saw the Steel type and realized that this is terrible. Now, we are up a shield, but Ice Beam does nothing, and Astonish does not charge energy too fast. SWABLU also loses CMP, and we're going to be able to make it to 1 more Ice Beam here, but this Ice Beam has no chance of KOing, and it takes us 6 more Astonishes to get to another Ice Beam, and we're easily getting outpaced. So SWABLU gets taken out by Sky Attack, and we unfortunately lose that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Stunfisk. Now, this is not good, but since they're running Thunder Shock, Registeel is not taking super effective from the fast moves, and we're able to catch what should be a Mud Bomb onto Altaria, and the opponent's going to immediately switch out into Mandibuzz. Now, if we can land a Moonblast, this matchup is easily flippable. So I'm going straight for the Moonblast. I've never been too big a fan of baiting, and they no-shield it, so all of a sudden, we're easily going to be able to take this matchup. Now, they should be at the back-to-back here, but that's fine, because Altaria will tank both of them, and Stunfisk will still not have a good time farming down Altaria from this range. So they can bring back in the Stunfisk, but we're easily going to make it to a Moonblast. Moonblast will do some nice damage, but it's not going to take him out. Moonblast does some nice damage, and they're going to look like they're going for the full farm down, but at the last second they decide against it. They probably lost track of my energy. They go for a Discharge. Discharge is just unnecessary there. Mud Bomb would take us out. But then we bring in SWABLU, and they go for a Discharge. Now, SWABLU actually tanks it. I did mention that this thing is actually pretty bulky. Like, I've seen it tank Ice Beams in the Little Cup. The thing's actually not too glassy. It's quite surprising. We're going to be able to make it to an Aerial Ace, and they're probably going to shield this. But they actually don't, and Aerial Ace still doesn't take them out. But in the back, they have a Azumarill, and it's just Registeel cleanup. I don't really like using Registeel for stuff like this. I don't think it's really that fair. It's not very fun. But it is going to win, and I did need a Steel type to cover up against the Grass types to cover up against the Electric types and other Steel types that will destroy Altaria. But so anyways, we can go for a couple Zap Cannons, we get 2 debuffs, and there's just no way they can take us out. Even if they have a Hydro Pump here, They don't, but it wouldn't even take us out. We can make it to one more Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon will get them extremely low. And I switch into SWABLU. I catch another charge move from another Azumarill. And we caught a play rough, so it looked like a Azu was just hard-walled by Registeel. So we're going to be able to make it to a Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon will take out Azumarill from this range. I undercharge it a bit, doesn't matter. And it does take out the Azu, and we take that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Galarian Stunfisk. Now this is worse because they're guaranteed to be running Mudshot because they can't run Thunder Shock, and Metal Claw is just a terrible move. But we will be able to outpace them to the Earthquake by 1 turn. And we go for a Focus Blast, and they no-shield it. Now I switch into SWABLU, and I'm thinking, did I just catch an Earthquake? And I didn't. I was so excited that I might have caught an Earthquake, but they baited. It's terrible. But either way, SWABLU should be able to make it to an Aerial Ace before they make it to another Rock Slide. And Aerial Ace does grab a shield, so it looks like SWABLU actually put in a bit of work. Now, I'm going to shield this again, because I'm thinking I should be able to make it to another Aerial Ace, but the opponent switches into Greninja. This is not the best, but the opponent shields the Aerial Ace, and we're actually able to save SWABLU for later. This is pretty good, because we're going to be able to take out the Greninja, probably just farm him down entirely, because Hydro Cannon's resisted. I do think it's slightly more energy efficient than Night Slash somehow. I'm not sure about that, but this opponent certainly thinks it is. So they're going to go for 3 Hydro Cannons, but they're still going to get farmed down. Now, I blind throw the Moonblast. I don't know why I did this. I should have known they were going to bring in the Stunfisk, but Moonblast will take out the Stunfisk. And in the back, they have Galarian Weezing, so all of a sudden, this is not too good. I switch into SWABLU trying to catch an Overheat, but they saw it, and they're going for a Sludge. So now the thing is, if I can get a debuff with the Zap Cannon, Overheat won't take us out, but they will have to make it to a second Overheat to have any meaningful damage. So they can go for an Overheat here, but Overheat is not going to take out Registeel, because Overheat is not, it's debuffed, it's just not going to do enough damage. They can go for a Sludge, but Sludge is resisted and triple debuffed, so Registeel tanks it. And Registeel can go for a Focus Blast, and Focus Blast will take out the Weezing, and we take that game with the help of SWABLU. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Pelipper. This is nice because if we can land a Zap Cannon, we just win the lead. But if they can shield them, then they might actually be able to take this. Now they can go for a Weather Ball, Registeel tanks it easily, and I'm going for a Zap Cannon. There's no real point in going for a Focus Blast bait, and the opponent lets a Zap Cannon go through, and Pelipper gets destroyed. Now they bring in Clodsire, and this isn't the best, because Registeel is just fully walled, but it looks like the Clodsire is also fully walled, because they went for a Mega Horn. My best assumption is they're running Mega Horn and Sludge Bomb, so Registeel can actually put in work. I think the Lock-Ons are going to do more damage than the Zap Cannons will, but either way, if we can go for a Zap Cannon here, then we should be able to just tank one more Mega Horn. Now Zap Cannon's still not going to get them into the yellow health, but they have to go for a Mega Horn or a Sludge Bomb. But that Sludge Bomb won't take us out, and I don't think Mega Horn will either anymore because of the debuff. The opponent shields that Zap Cannon. I don't even know why they did that, but they go for a Sludge Bomb, and that still doesn't take out Registeel. Now I'm trying to make it to another Zap Cannon, but I fail, and I get farmed down. Now I can bring in SWABLU though, because SWABLU is going to tank whatever they can throw here, because they're triple debuff. Look at that, Mega Horn does nothing now. It's hilarious. They can go for a Sludge Bomb. Doesn't do anything either. The opponent then switches into Gligar, and oh my goodness, is it time to land an Ice Beam? I have been waiting for this. I really wanted to land an Ice Beam. Now I'm making sure to throw on good timing, and Ice Beam gets no shielded, and that does a solid amount of damage for a bulk weighted 925 combat power Pokemon. So I was very impressed by SWABLU doing that. Either way, we can just farm down, and the Clodsire is not going to be able to do anything against my Altaria. Sludge Bomb will not take out Altaria, and they can't farm us down. I really wanted to finish this game with SWABLU, but my switch timer just wasn't coming up. They go for a Mega Horn, probably for the BM, and we can just Dragon Breath farm them down, and we take that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into Lurantis. Now, I switch into Altaria immediately because I have 2 better counters, so I actually do bait out a Lantern, which is great, because SWABLU does not want to see Lantern either. So we can go for a Moonblast. Moonblast will get some solid damage. We even get an attack debuff. So because of that, we should be able to just flip this matchup if no shields are used. We should just be able to Dragon Breath farm them down, and they will make it to a Thunderbolt, but because we got the debuffs, Altaria is fine. Altaria does not get taken out by that, and they can't send in the Lurantis because Lurantis won't get a farm down either. Now they're bringing Glare and Stunfisk. We can go for Moonblast. This Moonblast is actually very important because it does put them into Focus Blast range, and they don't even try to go for a farm down. The thing about this is now Registeel versus Stunfisk is a stupidly hard baiting game. So we can go for a Focus Blast. This is guaranteed to get a shield, and Focus Blast obviously gets shielded, and the opponent's over farming a lot, and then they're going for a move. I was feeling risky, so I called it, and I got the right call. So now I can just shield twice, and Stunfisk can't do anything anymore. We just have another shield to hide behind, so even if they go for another Rock Slide bait, I think we will outpace them or just win CMP. Now, they're going to go for another move, and I'm shielding this. Even if it was a Rock Slide, we'd outpace them. And we're going to go for a Focus Blast. I make sure to throw in their Mud Shot so that they can't catch. And now that they have just the Lurantis, it's SWABLU time. The thing about Lurantis is that Lurantis is so absurdly spammy, they should be able to make it to 3 Leaf Blades before we can even make it to 2 Aerial Aces. Now, Leaf Blade's resisted, but SWABLU still takes quite a bit of damage from it. And now I'm going for an Ice Beam because I'm not making it to 2 Aerial Aces, and Ice Beam hits slightly harder. Now, they're on so low HP, and SWABLU did its best, but SWABLU's going to get taken out by the Leaf Blade. But that just means the honor goes to Registeel, and we take that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Registeel into another Pelipper, and maybe this Pelipper will shield, I don't know. Either way, they're going for Weather Ball as soon as they get it, and Weather Ball is going to do some nice damage, we've seen it before. And now we're going for a Zap Cannon. This opponent, I think, does shield it, and they do. We don't get an attack debuff, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't really do much even if we do get one, because we're still going to get taken down by 3 Weather Balls, so we can no-shield this one as well. But I was expecting them to try and go for a Snipe after this, so I was really looking up just to see if they tried to switch out, but they didn't, and it looks like they were just happy to double shield. Now, the thing about this is that since we got 1 Zap Cannon attack debuff, we should be able to just tank the Hurricane. Hurricane still does quite a bit of damage, but now they will not be able to make it to another Hurricane, and they know that, so they just go straight for a Weather Ball. Altaria tanks a Weather Ball, so we're fine, and now we will be able to just get a Dragon Breath farm down. In the back, they have Carbink, and I probably should have just conceded the match right here, but I really wanted to see how it played out. If I could get a Moonblast debuff, there actually might have been a chance, but the opponent then switches into Medicham, and I really just wanted to see SWABLU's matchup against Medicham, and so since I have such a high energy advantage, I do think that SWABLU is able to take out the Medicham. So I know I'm losing this game, but I really wanted to just see SWABLU beat a Medicham. So I was really happy to see SWABLU be able to do this. The problem is Carbink, and we're going to lose with 2 shields, which is annoying, but whatever. Overall, SWABLU was insanely impressive. I was very impressed by how the SWABLU was actually able to tank the 2 Volt Switches from Galvantula and tank a super effective Discharge. It's probably the first level 50 Pokemon I've done like this that's actually able to tank a super effective move like that. So I was pretty happy with it. Altaria and Registeel did as expected. They're both meta Pokemon. But if you're running a 925 combat power Pokemon, I would give myself a pass on running 2 meta Pokemon, because I do need stuff to make sure SWABLU is actually able to have an opportunity to do anything. So I consider it fine. Now, I was actually so happy that I was able to see that one Trevenant, because it was so fun being able to destroy them. Now, Astonish is still a pretty rubbish move, unfortunately, but since they're buffing it this season, I'm insanely excited to see how it performs. Now, Astonish is going to be able to, it's going to do like 80% more damage next season, so I'm probably going to make a video about that as well this weekend, but I'm not sure. Either way, I'm going to try and get a video out this weekend about one of the 2 Pokemon that I have that got buffed that I'm really excited about. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Anyways, that's about it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.